What's up, everybody? Metal Dave here, along with my co-host Jason McMaster, bringing you another episode of the Talk Louder podcast. Today is just me and Jason shooting the breeze. Since we've come back on the podcast after my surgery, I've had some comments from a few folks that said, man, I really miss it when just the two of you would chit-chat a little bit about what's going on in the world of music, or maybe some of Jason's projects, or what's going on with the podcast behind the scenes, et cetera, et cetera. So we decided to get on camera today and just sort of catch up. Jason's got a project in the works called Hot Shot, and if you follow this podcast, you're already familiar with the name and maybe even some of the songs. There's a couple tracks that are already streaming. One is called Catwalk, the other is called Digging for Diamonds. And Jason has been working with the band on writing more songs, and I thought today would be a great opportunity to sort of get a look behind the scenes and see how that's going, where they are with the songwriting, if there's going to be an album involved, and if so, when. And so, yeah, it was a great conversation. I appreciate you taking the time to enlighten us all, and I know you're excited about the project as well.
Yeah, you know, it's fun for me to talk about because you know, I like making new music, and I'm lucky to make it with people I've known for years and years, you know, like forever.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't, you know, and I make music with people I've never even met before, and that's sometimes is just as fun. There's definitely something maybe a little less scary making music, writing songs with your friends, right? With people that you know how they write already, kind of thing, and what you have a process with that person.
Familiar territory.
Yeah, and then writing with someone who just finds you online and goes, you know, hey, man, I want you to sing on my record. And it's like, well, I don't know you, dude, so I got to listen to it first. I can't say, you know, in so many words, right?
Right.
And then 9 out of 10, man, it works out really well, where I'll listen to the stuff and it'll be like, holy shit, you know. And then sometimes there's someone that has some, you know, has you know, someone's name, you know, I'm being contacted by someone, the posters I had on my wall growing up, and I'm like, I'll sing the fucking phone book for you, bro, you know.
Right.
So, but, you know, people that that you break bread with, that you know, 10, 20, 30 years or more, there's something special about that.
And that's the case with Hot Shot for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So, you know, putting this together in the ashes of what was, that sounds too dark, but after this, we celebrated Dirty Looks with, you know, 2.0, I guess I've been using that as well, in making the live record and celebrating the life of Henrik Ostergaard and those Dirty Look songs, and the live record recorded in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania.
Cool from the Speedway.
Cool from the Speedway. God, years ago now. Was that like 3 years ago now or something crazy?
Seems like,
yeah. So, you know, it's time for, you know, I didn't want it to ever end. So, you know, writing a couple songs, you know, to fly under the same banners made sense.
Right.
But as the story we have today that we talk about in this conversation, I'll let it do I'll let it contain the knowledge that people might want to know about why, you know, and what and how Hot Shot kind of came to be. But it's a continuance of that. It's just under a different banner. And so,
right.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad we talked about it today. And I'm glad that we're, you know, inching very close to being done with the writing process. So it'll be 9 or 10 songs, you know, Hot Shot with umlauts.
Gotta have the umlauts. Yeah, I'm real excited for the whole record. I've heard a couple songs, and you've heard me gush about them. I think they're some of the best work you've ever done, and not just you, everybody in the band. I know the players involved in the band, and I'm super excited for this thing because the teasers that we've had so far are really, really good. And some of the songs that you shared with me that aren't public yet are really, really good. So I'm eager to hear the whole thing. And it's really cool that it is, in fact, very much in the vein of Henrik Ostergaard. It does sort of carry the legacy, or at the very least, carry the memory. So fans of all your previous work, Dangerous Toys, Broken Teeth, and your time with Dirty Looks and Henrik's time with Dirty Looks are going to love this. Hot Shot today on the Talk Louder podcast. Jason, you've been sending me little bits and pieces of a project you're working on called Hot Shot. And people are aware of this project because a couple songs have been streaming already. You guys made a video for one of the songs. The song Catwalk is what I'm talking about specifically.
Yeah, we did one for Digging for Diamonds too.
Digging for Diamonds. Okay.
Two videos of, for those two songs, and they came out last year. And it was basically an EP that we released on all streaming services that we actually titled the EP it's called We'll Be Right Back.
That's right. Yeah.
So that kind of ties into what you might want to talk about today. I don't know what kind of questions you might have for me about it, but I'm willing to answer them about this project.
I've been privy to some inside information because you and I are buddies, and I thought maybe, we could explore some of that or as much of that as you're able to at this time. Everybody knows about the first two songs. First of all, let me back up. Hot Shot is comprised of you on vocals, Paul Idell on guitar, Jack Pyers on bass, Dave McLean on drums, and Dave Beeson is in the mix as well, right?
That's right. So
we've got members of Dirty Looks, Broken Teeth, and Dave McLean, who has played with everybody from S.A. Slayer to Machine Head to Sacred Reich.
And more.
So anyway, and more. Yeah. So there is a pedigree in this band that's pretty impressive. And the songs, the two that I've heard, or actually I've heard a couple more, but the two that were streaming, Catwalk and Digging for Diamonds, to me has it's Dirty Looks meets Broken Teeth, in my opinion. And I love it.
Okay.
So I wanted people to be aware of who's in the band. So take it from there.
Yeah, I understand how you're putting Broken Teeth in there, or that anyone would hear it and go, "Oh, Broken Teeth," because they're going to gravitate to it. And you're very close to it because you're very close to Broken Teeth as a band and as people and as a movement that's been around for 23 years or whatever now, with 9 or 10 records out. So there's that whole thing. David Beeson, let's talk about him for a second. So we're talking about a guy who plays his guitar every day, has played in hard rock bands and metal bands his whole life, and he's a fan. He was a big Toys fan. He was he moved to Austin and played with a bunch of dudes, and it was always, big riffs and fast forward. He eventually, befriended me and all the Toys guys and played gigs together and yada yada. And I was doing some production work with a band that he had with Brett McCormick, who's former bassist for Broken Teeth. They had a band, and I was producing and helping them write some songs. And this was right around the time that me and Paul started Broken Teeth, and that would have been in 99. Well, the common denominator there is not Broken Teeth, really. It's closer to Dangerous Toys, and then even more so targeted at Dirty Looks.
Yeah.
Now, And on a sidebar here, David Beeson filled in for Brian when Brian was in Rhino Bucket. So David Beeson, you see the elements here and what Dave does and does well, and kind of what his role has become as a hard rock guitar player. So that's important. Now, Paul Idell has been in Dangerous Toys since '94. That's a long fucking time.
Yeah.
But it's Dirty Looks related as to how we know who and what a Paul Idell might be, right?
Yeah.
And the way that he plays, in my opinion, even though Henrik Ostergaard, was the main sound and sort of catalyst and motor. He was the motor of the front person and the feel and the whole nine of what Dirty Looks was. I feel like the records with Paul Idell and Jack Pyers on them is the true guts of what those records, why Henrik's vision came to life so well was, I think, with the application of Paul Idell and Jack Pyers.
Yeah.
Just an opinion. I knew Henrik. We weren't super, super close or anything, but such respect for each other. So I think you know where I'm going. So the Dirty Looks 2.0 that made the live record cool from the Speedway and all that. I mean, I can look back just a few years ago and go, wow, I fronted Dirty Looks for 5 years. You know what I mean? So that's like a dream come true. Well, guess who was on guitar just by default, because there was no one else that we could even think of that would work in a live, version of Dirty Looks to go and celebrate the life of Henrik Ostergaard, which is what the idea was in the first place.
Sure.
And I'm getting to how Hot Shot was born. You can see it bubbling. So, when Paul and Jack, 5, 6, God, going on, 7 years ago, when the germ came up between, it was Gene Barnett, drummer Dirty Looks, and Paul and Jack having a discussion about what if we just got a singer and went out and played some shows, Dirty Looks, and even just around our stomping grounds or whatever. And Paul said, I'll only do it if Jason can be the singer. And we've talked about this on this show, but it was a while back.
Yeah.
And would have been an early episode, or very early episode of the Talk Louder lifespan. Mm-hmm. But anyway, and of course I said yes. Right. And this is an interesting tidbit. I wanted to play rhythm guitar and sing. I wanted to play the part of Henrik Ostergaard, and I couldn't do it. I could not muster that up, because he was an amazing guitar player.
Right, okay.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And totally different than Paul Idell, who's also an amazing guitar player.
For sure.
And both of those guys playing together, Henrik and Paul, I think, is really the sound of Dirty Looks. And when you think of Cool from the Wire and Turn of the Screw, it's like, and as well as 5 Easy Pieces, I always throw that in there as the cherry on top. You can't go wrong with that kind of sort of almost metal, but it's like Accept and AC/DC and that vibe and Aerosmith maybe. If you put that in a blender, it's like we're talking about all my favorite kind of shit, except right. AC/DC and just groovy, nasty, heavy as shit. Like, it's like power metal, but kind of like put metal in parentheses, like power rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's this weird thing that they birthed, Right. I could talk about it forever. Anyway, the deal is we started as Dirty Looks and all those shows and the live record we made and da-da-da-da-da. It was so great and so fun when we started writing material with the intention calling it Dirty Looks so we could play Cool from the Wire and then play Catwalk right after it. The fantasy must have been too big for my brain because the universe didn't let it happen for whatever reason. But we started writing songs, and Gene was not interested in the songs we had. So we had Catwalk and Digging for Diamonds written for a while without drum tracks. And then once we just, we were kind of spinning our wheels, and we decided to move on and just get someone to play drums. But at that point, it became Hot Shot. We, as a group, didn't feel like calling it Dirty Looks would at all be fair to fans. I mean, it's already dangerous to call it Dirty Looks anyway, because, and I kind of have to sort of step in and go, you're kind of right.
Yeah.
No Henrik, no Dirty Looks, right?
Henrik,
we're doing the best. Oh, he was a fucking monster.
Well, here's
here we are talking about. He's been gone for a long time now, and here we are still talking about him. So
yeah, and as you were describing the music earlier, I'm thinking to myself, you kind of said that Henrik was obviously the voice, but also in many ways sort of the focal point and the face of Dirty Looks, but
main songwriter. He's the Lemmy. Lemmy is Motorhead. He is Dirty. I get it. I totally get it.
To me, the thing with Dirty Looks is the music was great, and I've always loved Gene Barnett's playing.
Oh my God, Gene is amazing. He's one of the best drummers out there.
I had to ask Paul one time. I was like, "What is it about his drumming that is catching my ear and makes this music so punchy? Is it because he's playing slightly behind the beat?" I'm not a musician, so is that the right terminology? And
yeah,
Paul's like, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And Paul's riffs, I mean, just forget about it. He's one of the best. And so to me, Henrik was always the cherry on top of something that was already great. So you add that voice on top of that music, and there's so much muscle and attitude and snarl to it. It's just undeniable. So when you guys were talking about putting this together and I started hearing music from it, I was like, oh man, I think this is going to be my favorite stuff that you, Jason, my buddy, has done since Broken Teeth. I'm a huge Broken Teeth fan.
Yeah.
And of course I love and respect all of your other projects, Igniter and Dangerous Toys.
Yeah, we don't have to go down there. I love you too, Dave, and I appreciate you.
I want other people to know this, because people that I vibe with in terms of our taste of music, I want them to understand that what we're getting out of this Hot Shot stuff is, if you're a Jason McMaster fan and you're a huge Broken Teeth fan and you're a Dirty Looks fan, you're gonna love this stuff. It's amazing.
Well, I'm glad that you've already bought 20 copies and it's not out yet. Thank you.
Yeah.
But
Checks in the mail.
But the thing about Broken Teeth is its own thing. But I don't need to remind you, but let me just remind everyone else.
Right.
Me and Paul started Broken Teeth together.
Right.
The first record doesn't have Jared's playing on it. Right. But when I played him the first record, Jared fell in love with it. He goes, I want to play guitar. So when you're ready to play live, I want to be in this band. And I said, you're in. Just fucking, here's the record. Go learn it, Right. And he's been in 100%, since that day. And that would have been in 1999. But the songs were written, all that first Broken Teeth record was written by me and Paul Idell in a room over at Jeff Tweedy's house. And you remember it well.
I remember it, yeah.
And so, Paul played on the first two studio and the live record. And then we got a booking agent that kept us on the road, month at a time, 2 months at a time. And that touring schedule is what kind of broke Paul from being his availability.
Sure.
but the creation comes from a Dirty Looks place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because it's Paul's guitars that make it sound that way.
Right.
But when you have me involved, because I played bass on the first record, Mike Watson played bass on the second record, so there's that Dangerous Toys element too, again.
Uh-huh.
And then eventually Brett, who was in a band with David, Brett on bass, and who put Brett's on the live album, and then we got booking agents, and then David Beeson came in. Broken Teeth is evolving the whole time, but never really leaving the germ of Paul Idell as a hint, because everyone's kind of influenced by Paul Idell, you know, because of what Broken Teeth is supposed to be, because we set out with a vision. There was a target we aimed for.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time I would say Viva La Rock Fantastico came around, there was a shift.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Broken Teeth, I mean, the songs that everyone's in love with, Paul Idell is a big part of, and we still play those songs. But there's a whole lot of shit that's happening. Like, I don't think that Paul Idell would have written a Break the Spell. That, you know, I mean, I wrote that riff.
Right.
But that's me. I wrote Devil Money, and that's a record Paul was on. But the funny thing is, when I'm writing that, when I'm writing that, I'm thinking, what would Dirty Looks sound like? I'm trying to write, you know, what I feel a Dirty Looks vibe would be. I know we got internet issue going on here, so
I just heard that.
Whether he needs to edit that or not, I don't know. He'll figure it out. But
we're back. That's cool.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying is, so by Viva La Rock Fantastico, Broken Teeth had become this whole other thing.
Sure.
For better, for worse, doesn't matter. It still sounds like Broken Teeth because it's me singing. It's Jared on guitar. We've got David Beeson in there. We're all Dirty Looks fans. We're all Rhino Bucket fans. We've played with these bands, you know, many times by this time. Yeah. So undergoing the, you know, how Broken Teeth was built, in my opinion, Hot Shot has that element, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't think it sounds like Broken Teeth when I really think about what Broken Teeth sounds like. When I write a song specific to Broken Teeth, it doesn't carry over to Hot Shot for me. Some people may not understand that.
Yeah, you're too close to it.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. But
so what I'm saying is,
I feel like it's a different hat. It's a different hat that I'm wearing.
Yeah, and that's you being close to it. I think for at least for me, I won't speak for other listeners, but I think you just nailed it. The origins of Broken Teeth sort of stem from the influence of Dirty Looks. So
because of Paul Idell, it's a Paul Idell thing, and that lends it to Dirty Looks.
And so what I'm hearing it again, and I'm hearing it again with Hot Shot, whereas you're too close to it but you're absolutely right. The foundation of Broken Teeth has a lot of influence of Dirty Looks. And to my ears, which are more distant than your ears, to me, it's more of a combination of Broken Teeth and Dirty Looks. You're finding the nuances in it because you're so close to it.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like how you're hearing it and taking it, because it's me putting it on a platter for you. You're not seeing it the way that I'm seeing it. Whether you say and you're not wrong, I can't argue, because it's me and then it's me. Hello, me. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So there's that. And then there's also David Beeson too, but it's like, who the fuck else are we going to get? You know what I mean? When you're talking about Hot Shot.
Right.
You know, or Dirty Looks, when there's a 2.0 version of Dirty Looks that's going to celebrate the life of Henrik Ostergaard, and I figure it out, and I figure it's going to be way too much work for me to up my game on guitar, you know, singing and playing guitar. it wouldn't have worked at all, you know. So we had to have a David Beeson come in and be that, so I can just be me presenting and, you know, celebrating the life of Henrik Ostergaard. So by the time we're writing songs, and it's me and Jack and Paul. So it's Jack and Paul who wanted to really get into writing these songs. We do start a series of Zoom meetings, and this is going 3 years ago now that we started writing songs.
Okay.
3 years or more.
Right.
And so with Gene bowing out, and us not feeling good about it being called Dirty Looks for what should be the obvious reasons, and that it's totally fair, to move on and you know, stumble over a name that's probably not the greatest band name since Van Halen, but you know, we thought Hot Shot was kind of cool, and it has multiple meanings. And we like that, you know. You could think about, you know, Hot Shot could be anything you think it might be. But I think it's Hot Shot like someone, like some rocker wearing his leather walking down the street and people are afraid of him. Look at that hot shot walking down the street thinking he's all badass. You're not, there's just an air about it. You're just starting your day. You could be walking to your shitty job at the sandwich shop.
Yeah.
But you're innocent wearing your skinny jeans and your leather jacket and your Motorhead t-shirt. You're innocent. But someone else seeing that to go, look at that hot shot. You know, it's just a day in a life writing songs about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but that's what Hot Shot is to me. So anyway.
So when I hear one of the meanings I hear is, and this will be an unpopular perception maybe, but when I hear Hot Shot, I always think of Johnny Thunders, because people claim that he famously, supposedly overdosed, and druggy slang for a lethal shot of heroin is called a hot shot.
That's right.
So,
and I knew that going in. Going in. But here's another one, and obviously I've done a little bit of research. There was a trademarked name of a K-pop band with the same name, Hot Shot.
Oh, wow.
But none of the bands have the umlauts.
Aha! The umlauts always change everything, don't they?
Well, it doesn't, because it's still an O. It's still spelling, but anyway, that K-pop band doesn't own that name anymore. As far as my book is, as far as my documentation,
right, we own it.
So
okay,
but their trademark is dead because the band broke up and then they never did anything after that. But it was who knew, a K-pop band, right? And I think there's also a wasp killer, like a hornet and wasp killer called Hot Shot.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes. And there's also the really bad comedy Hot Shots Part 2 and Hot Shit is Charlie Sheen. This is a franchise of those really bad sort of Police Academy style movies that had Charlie Sheen. Yeah, Hot Shots. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
It's total Spinal Tap. And you know what? Bring it on. Because it makes the name even more fun to me.
Right down to the umlauts. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it way more. Yeah, exactly. Well, and our logo even kind of has a Spinal Tap vibe to it. So I'm like,
now. Yeah.
And I'm saying, just bring it on. Well, you know, the S's as lightning bolts. I mean, come on, how cheesy is that? But it's so great at the same time.
I love it.
Yeah. So, well, you know, a lot of people, you know, when you think about Dirty Looks, and this was something that was brought to my attention later on, and I never put it together, and it might have been Gene or even Paul, is like, if you look at the movie poster or the DVD cover or whatever of Dirty Dancing, the movie Dirty Dancing, the font they're using for Dirty Dancing is the same font they use for Dirty Looks.
I can see that.
It's not exactly the same font, but when someone says that and I look at it and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would have never put that together too. Now I'll never be able to unsee it, as they say.
Well, that's the point I'm making with Hot Shot. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how many things it reminds you of. Our eyes are trained, our memories are stones. It's just like that. Anyway,
so where are you in the writing process with this? Because the first two songs were, if those are the teasers, man.
I'm glad you like it. We sat on those songs with fake drums, and then a buddy of David's, David Beeson, came to his house and recorded some, on a digital drum kit, on a plastic drum kit, played some drums to it, and it was like, oh, these have life now. Okay, this is going to work, because we just had click track, and the songs were written, but they were sketch,
Right.
And when we made the decision to make the move and not, okay, Dirty Looks, we have to put it to bed, and people got the gist of it, that we had set that aside, and it was great while it lasted, and it's memories that all of us will never, ever forget. And the live album is fantastic. The DVD is awesome. Anyway.
So are the liner notes.
Yeah. Yes, they are. Thank you, sir. And so I said, well, we started thinking about drummers, and I had a couple of people in mind, but I decided to just call Dave McLean. What do you think about this? Would you want to do this? Yeah, my old friend. And I sent him the songs, and he sent me drum tracks the next day.
I guess that's your answer, huh?
Well, for sitting around him-hawing, about what, how, and why aren't these songs without drum tracks after 3 years, 2.5 years or whatever it was, of them just in sort of a sketchbook state, a demo kind of a place, to the day after I called Dave McLean, I have keeper drum tracks. Perfect. Right. Didn't have to coach him. He knew what to do. Oh, you mean like this? Next thing you know, we put out an EP. The next thing you know, the fucking songs are out,
Right.
And we couldn't come up with a band name fast enough to try to, oh my God, these, so he magically produced and brought life to, songs that we had for what I consider quite a while. And so we started writing more songs, and we're up to 7 songs.
Okay.
Yeah, we're chopping away at song 7. And the plan is to write, 2 or 3 more, and then release a full-length record. And we can't wait.
I can't wait either, because I've heard the first 2 songs like everybody else, but recently you sent me another track with the title. It may be a working title, it may stick, but Repeat Offender, I believe, was the name of it.
Yeah.
And that blew me away. Yeah. And then, so here's the elephant in the room, at least between me and you, and I want other people to be aware of this. There is a contribution from Lemmy on this.
That's right. And I might as well tell the story. Yeah, tell the story here. The Toys did a tour in 1991 called Operation Rock and Roll, and a lot of people are well aware of that.
Yep.
And that had Metal Church, Dangerous Toys, Motorhead, Alice Cooper, and Judas Priest.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, not bad. So, we find ourselves hanging with Motorhead quite a bit on that tour, and me and Lemmy would disappear onto his bus sometimes and just hang out and listen to music and talk shit, and sometimes it was hours at a time, and then we wouldn't do it again for another week or two. He was always around and always super nice to everyone, as you very well know, and everyone who's ever experienced Lemmy.
Yeah.
So we're home, but during at some point on the tour, he gave me his business card, and it had handwritten his home address and home phone number, a landline on the back of it. I do. I'm looking at it right now. It's framed. It's framed.
Of course.
Yeah. And yeah. And he said, call me anytime. And I was just, like, what a sweetheart. And so the tour ends, we go home, and I grow balls big enough to call him. Because I got nothing to really say other than I'm not worthy, right? Whatever. Right. So I call him with no agenda whatsoever, just to, wow, I'm going to call him, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to call him,
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, remember me? Kind of a thing. And he's like, of course, don't be ridiculous, like in Lemmy fashion,
Sure.
broke my balls because he didn't think that I would remember him. Remember the red-haired kid that followed you around on Operation, yeah, fuck, of course I do. Shut up, kind of shit. And that's that imposter syndrome I struggle with, But anyway,
well, it is Lemmy. Come on, we'd all suffer from imposter syndrome.
He was kind of cool, So anyway, he's like, "What do you, conversation, blah blah blah. What are you doing?" I said, "Man, I'm trying to write lyrics, for whatever it was, whether it was toys, whether it was whatever." And he goes, this is 1991. This is in like November, December of 91. And he goes, "Hey, if you need any help, let me know." And silence, I was like, probably on a dime, my brain went, to put on the brakes and said, "Did Lemmy just ask if he could write me some lyrics?" He wants to help me write a song. He wants to write a song with me,
Yeah.
And I said, "You mean I just give you like a topic or a title and you do the rest?" He goes, "Yeah, check your mailbox in a couple weeks." And I just was probably stuttering, and I said, "Well, how about these twin sisters, Champagne and Cocaine, but they're girls, and they're twin sisters, and Champagne and Cocaine." He goes, "All right, check your mailbox in a couple weeks." So I tried to not to get too giddy about it, right? And I, sure enough, I go out there, I pull out a yellow, manila envelope, big orange,
Right.
envelope, and I may have the envelope that he sent it in somewhere, and it may not have been in one of those big ones. It might have just been in a regular office, size envelope.
Yeah.
And because it was in 91. This is a long time. It's 30 years ago or something.
Yeah.
More.
It wasn't email. Yeah.
No. Nothing was electronic back then. So
Right.
He had to lick a stamp. Think about it.
Yeah.
So he had to write my address.
Yeah.
On an envelope.
Find a pen.
It's just like,
Right.
So on yellow legal pad, I'm looking at it right now.
Mm-hmm.
On yellow legal pad, I wonder if I could. Hold on.
Oh, he's gonna pull it off the wall and show it to us.
So on yellow legal pad, here it is framed.
Wow.
He sent, and that's his handwriting.
Holy crap.
And you can see my handwriting like over here where I write, bridge or chorus or whatever. That was when anyway, to finish, yeah. Yellow legal pad, it's signed copyright I Kilminster, December 91 right here.
Wow.
When the Toys were writing tunes, I tried these lyrics on a Toys song, and somewhere I have a demo of the Toys doing it, and there's more to it. The Toys were going to go shoot a video, or we were going to play some gigs out in California. It was like a few one-off, like 3 or 4 day run out on the West Coast.
Right.
And so we're out there, and I call him and I go, hey man, I got a demo of this tune. You want to hear it? He goes, yeah, come by our rehearsal. Me and the Toys got to go to Motorhead rehearsal.
Oh.
So when you let that sink in, it's like, who gets to go to Motorhead rehearsals other than Lars?
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
I think Lars went to, during the writings for Iron Fist record, I think Lars was following Motorhead around Europe, and he got to go to their rehearsal. I read about it anyway.
Yeah.
We go, it's at one of the many rehearsal joints out in Los Angeles, Hollywood, whatever. It might have been in the Valley. I don't remember. Leeds, SIR, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. It was a long fucking time ago. But we go, and he's got a little boombox, and I think it was still Filthy Taylor on drums.
Okay.
I want to say it was still Phil on drums.
Okay.
So it was Phil and Wurzel, and or maybe Wurzel wasn't even there, but it was Phil Campbell, Phil Taylor, and Lemmy. Pretty sure. That's what I recollect.
All right.
He's got a little boom box, and I play him the song, and it comes in, and he's looking at me and giving me these like weird faces and quirky like lip rolls and shit, and I'm like, you don't like it? He goes, I wrote it as a 12 bar. And I remember thinking, or probably even just vomiting it out. Well, sorry, dude, not everybody writes everything like a 12 bar like you do.
Wow.
And because, he does. He writes pretty much every lyric he writes. He kind of sets it up as a 12 bar, like a blues vibe, right? Okay. He's a blues man. No one realizes he's a blues guy.
Sure.
He's writing everything rock and roll, right? Like Angus would or something, Right. And Toys write, especially with Scott Delhoover, we write quirky shit sometimes. I mean, Buns in the Gutter is not a 12 bar,
Right.
You could say arguably Teasin' Pleasin', Angel in You, Gimme No Lip, those are 12 bar.
So to the layman, myself included, what is he noticing, that the vocal phrasing is off?
Well, it wasn't how he sort of like set up the way, it wasn't what he expected.
Okay, yeah.
And he didn't like it because it was a Dangerous Toys song, and I think I wouldn't say that he was famous for not really enjoying the music of Dangerous Toys, but he enjoyed our company.
Yeah.
And I think that he may have even alluded to something like that in his book, White Line Fever. Like everywhere we went on a day off, there were the Dangerous Toys guys, so we hung with them quite a bit. That's nice enough for him to say about us.
Sure.
But he never said, oh yeah, these guys were great. I think that also in White Line Fever, he says something like, you could tell these Dangerous Toys guys were the apple of Sony's eye.
There you go.
Because and then it was something else he said. The singer sang in falsetto like Axl Rose.
And had red hair.
Right? Yeah. Something like that is what he said.
Yeah, I remember that.
So whether he's breaking my balls or not, I didn't feel like he's breaking my balls when he sang any of those things.
He remembered you enough to put you in his book.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He gave me his phone number.
There you go.
He talked to me like a person and not a maggot.
Right.
And he thought I was worthy to help me with a song if I would like his help. So that tells you a lot about it. But let me finish the story.
Yeah, go ahead.
About Hot Shot.
Right.
So I had these lyrics, the Toys demo, that song, Champagne Cocaine, the Dangerous Toys version of it, never saw the light of day.
Okay.
And I've listened to it fairly recently. It's pretty fucking bad, in my opinion. And here's some proof here. Dangerous Toys just put out last year Demolition, which is a collection of that era of songwriting between 91 and like 94.
Which ask why that was.
And that was a song that is in there in the mix somewhere, and it's like next. It was just moved out of the way. We didn't even consider it for Demolition. Okay. So that'll tell you something else. So Lemmy was probably right again. It should have worked as a 12 bar and could have just been shoved in this song that me and Scott wrote, right?
Right.
And it didn't even shine to me and the Toys guys. So it just got shunned. And all the while I had this great framed handwritten lyrical miracle from Mr. Kilmister, right?
Yeah.
So here we are in the middle of writing songs in, 2025, 2026.
Hot shot.
For Hot Shot.
Yeah.
And Paul and Jack write this riff, and they send me this sketch. It's a click track, and it's Paul's guitar, and that's how we write. Not without having a Zoom call with either the three of us or just those two guys. They tell me they don't like to do it without me because every time they'll put something on, I'll go, this part should go twice. This part should go 4 times. This part should go, right? So they rarely do it without me, but they have a couple. Anyway, whoever was in the Zoom room, the writing room, the kill room, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, I'm working with this tune and I'm trying to come up with I'm sitting right here in this same chair singing into this microphone, trying to come up with some shit. And, that I'm glancing over at the wall where the framed Champagne Cocaine Lemmy lyrics are, and I'm going, maybe? So I'm literally...
Do I dare?
I'm literally holding the frame right here.
Yeah.
And singing. I didn't even take them out of the frame. I just sang it through the glass. And it fucking worked. Oh,
yeah.
shit.
What is that on the back? I was going to ask. There's something on the back of
that
frame.
is the last time I'm pretty sure you were there. That's the last Motorhead gig in Austin where they played 3 songs and he left the stage.
Oh.
And that's my wristband. It was at Emo's.
Yes.
That was and that show was Tuesday, September 1st of 2015.
Right. I skipped that because I foolishly thought I would go see him in San Antonio at the Aztec. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking I'd prefer to see them in that venue.
Yeah.
And of course that never happened. So
yeah, I was front row, like right in front of Lem.
Yeah.
And like grown men were shedding tears.
Of course.
It was so sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he came out on a cane and apologized. I've been sick and I'm doing my best and we'll come back as soon as we can. And everyone's screaming, we love you, Lemmy, we love you. 0 refunds. They played 3 songs. 0 refunds.
I remember seeing video of that, and it's the first time in my life that I can recall or think of when the headliner had to leave the stage so shortly after getting on stage, and not one person bitched. Everybody in that audience knew they were witnessing history, and they were grateful that he even gave it a shot and tried to come out there and play for them. That's the power of Lemmy.
Yeah.
He shows up, tries to power through, can't do it, says, I'm sorry, walks away, and the whole place erupts in, we love you, we love you.
That's right.
And they go home early, and they're not bitching about refunds.
That's right. So that was what all of us never realized would be our last goodbye.
Right. Yeah.
He was in the hospital for a few days here in Austin, and I ran into Phil Campbell at the Dirty Dog down on 6th Street.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I think Killing Time was sound checking and about to play or loading in or something. I don't recall. And he was in there drinking, and I went in and was like, wow. And he goes, hey, man, I need a guitar. I'm stuck at the hotel without a guitar. All my shit's in a truck, and it's gone. I don't have a guitar. I need a guitar and a little amp if you've got it. And I was asking everyone in the club. I asked the guy that was running the place. I said, "Hey, you got a guitar? You can let Phil Campbell." And he's like, "So, someone at the Dirty Dog, I vouched for Phil,
Yeah.
and I got a guitar, and when he brought the guitar back, as promised, whew, thank God, because that could have gone awry." Phil Campbell liked to party back then. I don't know if he probably still does. Anyway, and I always got along great with Phil Campbell.
I don't think you can be a member of Motorhead if you don't like to party at least a little.
Anyway, such a nice guy, and he signed the guitar. When he gave it back, he signed the back of it. "Hey man, I'll sign the back." He's like, "Oh shit," so
wow,
kind of a bonus. Anyway,
very cool.
So here I am, and now Hotshot has a song with a story and these Lemmy lyrics, "Champagne Cocaine." Yeah, and to talk more about the songs, I've got our buddy Tyler Heath singing backup on.
All right.
On a song.
Yeah.
And I've got on a couple songs. There's I'm gonna massacre your last name, Ernie. I'm sorry, Ernie Peghini, Ernie Peghini. I don't know if it's Italian. I don't know. But my buddy Ernie is singing backups on a couple songs. He's on Champagne Cocaine, actually.
Oh wow, that dude's got a great voice.
Yeah, and
he does a mean Henrik.
Yeah, well, that's a great compliment, because here I am trying to do a mean Henrik, and here's this 20-year-old from Florida killing me on the Henrik histrionics.
Right. And you sent me some YouTube clips of him. I think it was YouTube clips of him covering Dirty Looks or singing his own original material with a very Henrik-like voice. And I was like, oh my God, it's the ghost of Henrik.
Yeah, both. And it was someone that got Paul hip to Ernie. And then Paul, I think, sent it to me and Jack and to everybody, and Gene even. And I think Gene even reached out to Ernie to try to put something together, which that's fine, that's great. As much as any of us can get out of our camaraderie through the memory of Henrik Ostergaard is a good thing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, and so it's all love, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that we are continuing a culture is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Hotshot is part of this legacy and you're not wrong when you say Broken Teeth, because it's part of the lineage, and it's related to Paul, and it's related to, whether you like it or not, it's related to Dirty Looks, which is, to me, it's directly related, just not as directly related as maybe Hotshot, because Jack is on it. And those tunes were sort of germinated from the Dirty Looks 2.0 thing. I don't know what else to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've heard maybe 4 of the tracks. How many are you writing, and is there a timeline for releasing this for mass consumption, or is it too early to say?
Well, no, I don't know if the label will be upset me just kind of like, I wouldn't call this like a random posting. This is actually sort of like a lengthy video bio of the group and the idea of Hotshot. So this could be a historical document, right? Just to be clear, but Kenyon Records, Kenyon, is releasing this record. We don't know when. Hopefully by the end of this year, because we're doing well on the writing. There's no deadline, there's no official deadline, which is always great. And a band usually finishes earlier than expected when there's no deadline.
Yeah.
When there is a deadline, there's a lot of pressure, but the songs may or may not be as good. They might be better than expected, but sometimes it's a little bit of a weird ride when you're sort of like,
no deadline is a luxury.
A little bit.
It can be, but you guys are all seasoned pros. No deadline in the hands of a bunch of 20-year-olds could be a disaster, but no deadline in the hands of a bunch of seasoned pros is probably a luxury that you appreciate because it allows you to tailor the songs to your liking.
That's right.
Rushed.
That's right. And Dave McClain has been fantastic, an ally, an asset. He knows what to do. He stretches out when he hears a place to stretch out. And he tells me that he's stretching out. He doesn't ask me. Mm-hmm. He's not calling, he's not calling anybody going, "Hey man, is it okay if I put some drum stuff in?" It's like, if there's a hole and it's working, fucking drum solo, bro. Kill it.
Exactly.
Start a fire right there. And so he's really cool, but I don't know if a lot of people realize this about Dave, but he has like Kiss tattoos. He loves Peter Criss and that kind of drumming,
Yeah.
He's not
Which is interesting because his resume is mostly thrash metal and speed metal and that sort of thing.
Yeah, Machine Head, Sacred Reich.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff that's got gnarly and even hardcore influence,
Right.
Bay Area thrash things going on, right. Well, he's not afraid to play like Alex Van Halen, and he's not afraid to do Peter Criss on 100,000 Years.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to play that. He's got cowbells. So, yeah. So it's great. It's a great fit. And I love Dave McClain so much.
So do we have a working title for the album? Will it be called the same thing that you're working with now? What is it?
We keep talking about it. Me and the label keep talking about it, and I think really the best thing, the decision today, as far as the new current conversation, is to just have it be a self-titled.
Okay.
And I don't think it matters a whole lot,
Yeah.
There's no plans to make a second record, but I would love for it to keep going. Sure. But it's too soon to see anything like that. I mean, let's finish this one and celebrate this one. And there's no plans to play live,
Well,
everyone's all
scattered.
Yeah, Jack lives in Pennsylvania, and Dave's in Wisconsin.
Oh, he's in Wisconsin? I thought, wasn't he in Arizona at one point?
Well, even during his tenure with his long welcome back and run with Sacred Reich, who is from Scottsdale, Phoenix area, he wasn't living there.
No. Was he in New Mexico? I never had him pegged as Wisconsin.
No. I mean, long time ago, his first run with Sacred Reich, he was living there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
he's been in Wisconsin for a long time.
The point is you guys are pretty scattered, and any kind of live performance would be a long shot for sure. I wanted to mention...
we're never say never, right? Because if we get together to, I don't know, it just depends on how the stars aligning, and if it's too costly for us to, I don't know, get together and shoot a video or something. If we're gonna get together in a room and shoot a real conscious video to promote Hot Shot, it would be nice for everyone to stay around a couple days and throw a surprise gig somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's at the Music Lab.
Right.
Or Space or whatever, even it's at some rehearsal place. Just hey, call everybody up and let's come over to our rehearsal and we play our songs.
Yeah, I'll be waiting for that phone call.
Anyway, we don't know, we don't know what's going to happen with it as far as the physical, right? We're just trying to make a record right now, and it's going well. Like I said, we still have to write a couple more songs, but we're close. There's going to be one more special guest that remains to be seen, and I'll tell you off camera, but I don't want to tell you on camera right now because this person is very busy, and is trying to make time to be available to do a co-vocal with me.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right.
So, but so between the Lemmy lyrics and a few, because, you got Ernie and you got Tyler and,
Yeah.
there might be one more special guest, and man, it's pretty celebratory. And
Yeah.
all in the vein, to me, and I talk about this with the label quite a bit, it's like, I'm really trying to make these tunes that I'm writing with Jack and Paul feel like, I'm trying to make a duck. I'm quacking like a duck, so I want it to be a duck.
Right.
I want it to be Dirty Looks. I want it to sound like Turn of the Screw and Cool from The Wire. I want it to be that vibe of a song. And I really feel like Jack and Paul are like, yeah, whatever. Jason's got a romantic thing for Dirty Looks, and that's great. I'm trying to, sure, I might as well wear a sign on my forehead that says, what would Henrik do on this song right here?
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't reach over and grab Lemmy lyrics because he didn't have them. See, so there's this, I'm breaking all my own rules, but my vision is what I want it to be as far as the fantasy is to feel like I'm putting the needle in the groove on one of those kick-ass Dirty Looks records, and that's really the vibe I'm going. My whole thing is not the hat. My Broken Teeth hat is not on.
Yeah.
When me and Jared write songs, because me and Jared are the main songwriters in Broken Teeth, there's a certain thing that we go, oh yeah, that's it.
Right.
You know what I mean? When we put something together, oh yeah, oh yeah, that's going to work. And if something's not right, Jared's the first one who go, you want to change that around a little bit? Let it cook some more. Then I get it. I know what he needs that to do. Because sometimes I'll send him something. I'll go, here's what I have, but I'm not married to it. And he'll go, oh yeah, no, I like this part. Da 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 da. So it's this thing. Mm-hmm. In Hot Shot, the thing is what it is by the time Paul spits out after a writing session, just to put you as a fly on the wall, after we put together a sketch of something, it's what Paul sends me is what Paul ended up with after the meeting. Because during the meeting, I might be singing a little, I might be scatting a little vocal line, and I might even have a guitar on. 3 old dudes with guitars bouncing around in a Zoom room throwing riffs, hitting the ball over the net back. What about this? Oh, play that again. Paul will hit record. He's got everything on tape, quote, tape, right?
Yeah.
And he'll put it all together and send, what do you guys think of this? This was from our last meeting. And I'm like, oh yeah. Most of the time, I already know what I'm going to sing. In Broken Teeth, it's not exactly like that. It's a little bit different every time.
Yeah, well, I'm sure every project and every band has its own unique chemistry. That's what gives it. That's what gives them all their individual sound.
Yeah, and I'm used to Jared riffs, and I'm used to Paul riffs, right? And they're two totally different things.
Of course, yeah.
So when you think about my riffs and Jared's riffs that were coming at us as far back as the fourth record with Viva, that's where Broken Teeth kind of stems as to how it is now. And and what Paul does changes the way that I sing, I think. You may not hear it. Yeah. You may just hear it and go, yeah, and you're into it because you're a fan and you get it because you know us, all of us. But on the outside, I think that I'm really hoping that Dirty Looks fans hear it and go, oh, I see that a little bit. Even if it's just a little bit, I'll take it, because I'm really trying to celebrate what Henrik did with Paul on those records. I'm not Henrik, but I'm hoping that when I play you some tunes that you can hear that I'm trying to be that little devil that Henrik was when he was singing, these songs about, having the blues and you lost your woman, or your best friend died, or just typical blues. I'm hitching a ride on a freight train, or that kind of stuff is what Henrik wrote about the best, I think. And I'm really trying to go that route. I mean, I'm writing about spies. Catwalk is about a supermodel who's a Russian spy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if Henrik wrote about that, but he wrote like Back to Marseille, and he wrote Tokyo, and he was world traveler lyrically, and I really love, and Lemmy was too, ironically.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that going on in this hot shot, and that's not Dangerous Toys, and that's not maybe with Crash Landing Affair there was a little bit of world traveler going on with that, thanks to your title.
Yeah.
So
I don't think anybody, I mean, and here's where my excitement comes from. It's everything that you just said. If you're a fan of Dirty Looks and you hear this hot shot, sure. I mean, half of Dirty Looks is playing on this, but the spirit of Henrik is in there, and the sound is there as you would expect. And I'm super excited for it. And I think a lot of people that follow you and your music, whether it's Dangerous Toys, Dirty Looks, Dangerous Toys, Broken Teeth, and now Hot Shot, I think they're all going to find so much to enjoy and appreciate in there. And because Dirty Looks fans and Dangerous Toys fans and Broken Teeth fans, they all overlap. So if you like one, you're going to like the other. And there's
it's
so much to
interesting
like
that there's three hats to me. Like my delivery is not the same at all on all three of those. Some people are going to find, sure, there's going to be the overlap in what I just said that's going to make me feel like I'm, kidding myself. But it's not going to happen very often, I'm telling you. It's not.
And most people, I don't think, are going, again, you're too close to it. You're the creator, you're the voice, you're the, you're the one studying how to approach this.
I'm waiting for someone to feed it through like some kind of robot, Chat GPT or that. How many times does in Jason McMaster's lyric writing history has he used the word fire?
Yeah.
Or whatever, right?
Yeah, here comes the scroll, right?
Yeah, right. But the thing is I don't give a shit about about what how many times that could happen.
You shouldn't. It's all about what fits the song in the moment.
Amen.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about it. I think everyone listening to the show, anyone who's a fan of your other bands, is really going to enjoy this. I'm stoked. As you know, you've been feeding me this stuff as it becomes available, and I've been listening to it, and I'm just blown away. And I don't even hide it. I've told you, I'm so excited for this record, and the songs that you put out already are great.
Well, the ideas have been, some of it accidental as far as like the lyrics go, and the trajectory of topic, like Repeat Offender. The working title was Backslider. And that was just because I was scatting something over the chorus. It sounded like Backslider, so I just started singing Backslider. And Backslider is part of the lyric in there, but Repeat Offender I say in there as well. And that's a much better title. That could even be an album title. Repeat Offender is,
That would be a great album title.
Could be an album title. But
especially considering the pedigree of the band, because it's kind of like you guys are back to repeat some of your magic with your respective other bands.
And the EP was called We'll Be Right Back.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of there's a little bit of espionage going on with Catwalk. Kind of set the bar
Yeah.
Because Catwalk's a great song.
It's a badass song.
Yeah, and you know, there's other titles there that kind of lend itself to that. Widowmaker has some of that. That's kind of a continuance of the spy theme. It's basically a hitman kind of a vibe.
Okay.
And but it's a female again.
Okay.
And it's a hired, you know, hey, I need you to take someone, I guess it's soprano kind of a vibe, you know.
Right.
And I talk about, you know, concrete shoes and the Hudson River and all kinds of shit and the lyrics and that. So it's real fun and kind of murder mystery. And, you know, people don't realize, but I've written about that stuff before. I mean, Bones in the Gutter, it kind of has that vibe. That story in Bones in the Gutter, and that's like a murder mystery too. So
yeah. Well, I'm excited for it. I think our listeners and viewers are going to be excited to hear it when it's finally all available. In the meantime, you can still check out Catwalk and Digging for Diamonds on streaming platforms, correct?
yeah,
And
there's
find
videos on YouTube.
on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Check it out if you're not familiar. The band is called Hot Shot, and there's more cooking. And
Umlauts. Look for umlauts over the second O.
That's how you know you've got the right one.
That's right.
Yeah, we're excited for it. Hot Shot. That's it for another episode of the Talk Louder podcast. On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, we're catching up today on Hot Shot, his latest project, today on the Talk Louder podcast.